All right, everyone. So, welcome. This is Richard Osban, assistant editor over at Oldtime Central, coming to you live from the beautiful Oldtime Central headquarters, i.e., my basement in sunny Baltimore. And I'm joined here today, virtually, by old-time fiddler and bassist Brian Farrow. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Richard. It's
Nice,
even
long
more
time no see.
beautiful. You rocking that eggshell blue background. Tasteful.
Yeah, it's a statement. I feel like it's a statement I wanted to make. So, Old Time Central, part of our mission is to bring voices and art from all over the old time world to our audience and sort of show all the cool things that are happening in the old time scene. And since we've been unable to do that with the current pandemic, we've decided to try to do some of these live. So this is our first attempt at a live stream interview. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I guess we can go ahead and get started here. Brian,
Yeah, I didn't know I was the first. That's pretty cool.
you're the first. The first, but not the last.
Sweet.
So, how's it going?
Going good. We're ending a sunny day here, and I guess I'll just go ahead and say it here in Baltimore, on my block here in Charles Village, and it's been a good day. I mean, I napped in the middle of the day, so it's been great for me.
Excellent. Well, let's just go ahead and get right into it then. Can you maybe tell me a little bit about your experience with old time music? When did you get into it? How'd you get into it? What's been your journey with the music?
Old time, I feel like old time is such an amorphous term because if I if I take it the way like I sort of old time to me just means like 1920s jazz and then going back. And in high school, I got into trad jazz through just being in my jazz ensemble. I played in a group called the Capital Focus Jazz Band. I played banjo in that group, and I banjo and guitar. I wasn't the best banjo or guitarist. I really wanted to play bass, but they wanted to keep their tuba seat, and the leader of the band, Dave Robinson, was trumpeter, cornet player, and I think he was just all about that brass. So I had to stay on guitar and banjo at the time, and I didn't play 5 string banjo. 4 string was more my speed. Um, and I just got really interested in the bassist, honestly. I just kept on looking further and further back when it came to old bassists. And as in high school, I got as far back as Pops Foster and checking out the Hot Five and a couple of the sides they did with Kid Ori. And then in college, I got a more extensive list of jazz bassists from from my jazz history professor over at Howard, and I found out about Bill Johnson and loved all of his sides. And I actually have I didn't know Dick Spotswood came out with this. I found out about it a couple of years ago. How Low Can You Go, which is a great anthology of bassists before Jimmy Blanton, and Jimmy Blanton being that sort of connector between that old school style of playing upright bass and the newer school style that started to develop with bebop. And I love all that stuff. I love listening to those basses because they really dictated the groove of the orchestras and ensembles they played in, and that's a lot of control for not a lot of recognition. And I just enjoyed how everybody did it.
Yeah. So when did you sort of become aware of the sort of non-jazz aspects of old time music? So Appalachian fiddle tunes or Midwestern fiddle tunes. When did that sort of come onto your radar if you started out with 1920s and before jazz bassists?
I don't want to come off as sounding too collegiate, but I also found out about like the Black Banjo Gathering and the Carolina Chocolate Drops through college. I only went for a semester. I just got a lot out of that semester. I just ran with it. Um, yeah, I learned about the Chocolate Drops, and I heard their music, and I was like, nah, these aren't black folks. They just use black folks on their album. And then I started digging deeper and learning more about them, and that was really my start into old time. Fast forward a little bit, um, I was playing the Kingman Island, one of the first iterations of the Kingman Island Bluegrass Festival. Not the Cayman Islands, Kingman Island in D.C. They have a really sweet bluegrass festival there. I was playing that with a now defunct group because everybody moved to different corners of the U.S. But the Delafield String Band, and we had this early set. There was maybe 10, somewhere between 5 and 10 people there that were really like, you guys did it. And we had our set, and we just started to explore the scene a bit. I started drinking and smoking with friends, and it just like the place got so packed. And I'm just enjoying myself, enjoying the sun with friends. And I wander backstage, and there's this band warming up to play, and in particular, there's this fiddler sitting down, and he's got just like, I hadn't really come across a fiddler. Yeah, of course there was a fiddler in our band, but this was a fiddler. He wasn't holding it all proper like a violinist. It was just kind of slinking off of his shoulder, and he was playing a tune, and it just sounded so natural. This was Ferd Moe of the Hackensaw Boys, and I'm just like, man, you got a cool style. And he's like, hey, it looks like you could use a friend. And I happened to be holding 2 beers, and I was just like, yeah, here you go. And we just sat down and started shooting the shit for a minute. Then the rest of the band comes around. It's just like, hey, guy, Dave of the Hackensaw Boys comes around. It's like, hey, guys, we need to start rehearsing. We got to warm up. We're about to get on stage. And I watched them play a little bit, and I didn't know too much about bluegrass at the time. Bluegrass was something I heard on the radio once or twice when I was younger, and I was just like, yo, what's that? But my mom was like, nah, we're not listening to that. And I was really just getting my feet wet in bluegrass. But since I played a lot of jazz, I had an ear for just getting the chords, and a lot of bluegrass was just asking 1/5 from the bassist, so I could hop in a lot of places. So I had my bass backstage, and I was like, how about I play along? So I play a couple of tunes, and they're like, oh, cool. How about I play up on stage with you? And they're like, I don't know. And eventually they just let me go on. I didn't know they were the headliner, but they were the headliner. So I'm playing with them, and after the show, they're like, wow, that felt good. How about you come on the road with us? And it was a tough decision because I'd done a lot of work in and around DC to build up gigs, and finally things were really steady for me, paying rent and more. And it was a little bit of a pay hit to go on the road, but I mean, I cut my teeth with some of the grittiest bluegrass musicians there was, because there was also Jimmy Sterling of Sterling Banjos. He was in the group at the time, and he had been an old member of the group. And Brian on charisma, I forget his last name, but he just had a really rockin' rhythm. And the charisma was just like this can contraption that he had put over his shoulders. And of course, David was driving on the guitar, and Ferd was a strange octopus monster on the fiddle. So I cut my teeth with them, learned a lot about bluegrass, and eventually, through touring with them, I ran into another black fella on the road, which I didn't think I was going to come across, because we were playing like in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, West Virginia. A lot of people are just coming up to me, boy, you really play that bass. Never seen a black fella in a bluegrass band, like that sort of shit a lot. And I saw Dom playing banjo. I'm like, I gotta know that guy. And it's funny because the moment I went over to talk to Dom, Dave of the Hackensaw Boys was just like, I think we lost our bass player. and I just, hang out with Dom, play a couple of tunes. We end up grabbing a joint together and shooting the shit for a while. A lot of shooting the shit. That's how you get into these bands. And it was just one of those beautiful sunny afternoons of talking old music and vibing out. And eventually, Dom called me down to North Carolina, and we were just talking, negotiating, and I ended up joining him for the next 4 or 5 years, playing bass for him. And in that time, I ended up picking up the fiddle just because a friend of mine, Nate Lewis, who's actually a really amazing artist out of New York. Well, he's out of here. He's in New York now. But if anybody gets a chance, Nate Lewis, he's incredible. And the work he does is impactful. He let me borrow his violin. I turned it into a fiddle because I didn't know how to play it, and I was going to learn how to play it properly. And I just kind of brought it to Dom as a novelty, and Dom showed me a little bit of a melody, and I scratched it out on the fiddle, and it's like, all right, let's do that tonight. And it didn't sound that great that night, but he kept making me do it. And eventually, I was playing fiddle and bass for him, and because he actually gave me some of the best advice I had gotten as a musician in general. At one point, he told me, like, man, you're practicing too much. Don't practice that much. Relax. Just take a break, come back on the road, and, we'll play some more. And I think that's been one of the biggest drivers in me developing a more individualistic style, and something that really just calls to a lot of the recordings that I've been listening to. I've practiced, I used to have 8-hour days of practice on the upright bass, and all it did was give me back problems. So this new way of just approaching the instrument in a comfortable way was, lucrative to my creativity. So that long rant, that's basically how I got into what folks today consider old time music.
So I'd love to pick your brain a little more about old time music and what you consider old time music, but maybe would you like to play a tune for us real quick first?
Yeah, I'll play you guys a tune. Now I'm gonna stick to playing mainly my bass here, because it's playing this thing has been so much fun to me lately, and I feel like I've played the electric bass just a little bit longer than I've played the guitar, which I hardly play anymore. So I thought I'd be a little bit more comfortable on this. I'm stillin', pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stillin' back to my same old used to be. I'm stillin', pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stillin' back to my same old used to be. Put your arms around me like the circle around the sun. Wanna love you like the easy rider done. If you don't believe I love you, look what a hole I'm in. If you don't believe I love you, look what a fool I've been. I'm stillin', pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stillin' back to my same old used to be. If you know the song, sing it. I'm stillin', pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stillin' back to my same old used to be. Now, I'll tell you, I got a woman just my height and size. She's a married woman, comes to see me sometimes. If you don't believe I love you, look what a hole I'm in. If you don't believe I love you, look what a fool I've been. I'm still in, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm still in, back to my same old used to be. Sing it one more time. I'm still in, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm still in, back to my same old used to be. I'm still in, I'm still in, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm still in, back to my same old used to be. I'm still in, back to my same old used to be.
Awesome. I've never seen anyone play an acoustic bass that well, man. Excellent.
Yeah, I love this thing. And I'll go ahead and share the story on this. I got this David Eisner of the House of Musical Traditions over in Tacoma Park saw me playing a gig with Elena Lacayo at a fundraising event. Elena Lacayo, also an incredible artist. Check her out. Great stuff, and also a great protest singer. I'm playing a gig with her for one of Cheryl Kagan's fundraisers, and David Eisner is backstage, and I'm sitting there talking about another acoustic bass guitar I had given me issues, and he's just like, okay, all right, hold on, and he leaves and comes back with this bass, and he's just like, here, how about you try this out? And I love it. I love playing it. It's not appropriate for the gig, but backstage, like, I'm continuing to play it. And honestly, it was backstage I like started to play the way I'm playing now. Fast forward a little bit, I'm borrowing it. I haven't paid for it yet. And I take it to a gig, and it ends up dropping out of its case, and the neck snaps. Like the headstock comes right off. And I'm looking horrified at this thing. I don't know what to do. I wait a good week before I say anything about it because I'm mourning it. And I think I ended up paying for the bass, even though it's broken. But I took it to the guys while I was on tour with Gangsta Grass. I took it to the guys out in Oregon, the Breedlove guys, and they said, yeah, we'll replace that for you. Just become a Breedlove artist. I was like, sure, no problem. I'll do that. Just give me a new bass, please. And they gave me this thing, and they also gave me that other bass that's sitting back there. And maybe I'll show you guys that one later, because that one is a really special one. So yeah, just wanted to say that because this bass has a cool story to it.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm privy to a little bit of insider information about the other bass, and I'm definitely going to ask about it later as well. So, um, but yeah, from what you were saying before, and also from the song you just played, you seem to have, or you have a slightly different definition of old time than maybe a lot of people in our audience might have. I mean, as you know, of course, old time is a very big umbrella, and everyone has sort of a slightly different definition when they say old time of what that means. So I'd just like to ask now at this point in your musical career, what does old time music mean to you? If it used to mean just the jazz of the 1920s and earlier, has your definition of old time changed at all since then?
I don't. I really don't know what old time is. I really don't know what the term is. I uh, Dina Dina Jennings of Dina Jennings likes to say on time music. She does this festival called The Thing for a lot of us African Americans, people of color that are into quote unquote old time music. But it I just feel like it's a lot of music that needs to be brought forward, and when I do it, I don't really consider it old. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say what old time music is for me or how to define it. I don't really have the best definition of it. It's I think there's been a lot of movement in the industry for the past while to bring it up, but it's a little bit stagnant. We like to try to be as authentic as possible, but authentic to what? We're to the source recording or authentic to your interpretation of the music? And I think that sort of aids to how how ostracized some people of color can feel in the old time music scene because from the folks I talk to, more folks want to bring it forward than play exactly what the old time folks were doing. I mean, even in my vocal arrangements, I take hints from how they sang it, but I'm not gonna sing it exactly how you know how the Memphis Jug Band would have sang it. And then in some cases, they sing horribly. A lot of those folks can't sing. They do some cool things. They do some really cool vocal things. But I mean, let's not split words. Some of those folks can't sing. Hobart Smith, I don't think he can sing, but he has a beautiful voice.
I think the Hobart Smith can't sing comment may have just lost us 10 or 20 followers.
Hey, again, he has a beautiful voice.
So how have you in since you discovered old time music and since you started playing it, you now live in Baltimore.
Hmm.
How have you found the musical community in Baltimore?
It's pretty
You know,
cool.
I know, no pressure because I'm a part of the music scene in Baltimore, so you can be brutally honest.
Oh, I'm gonna trash your corner of it. Nah, uh, I I think it's pretty cool. I think Brad Kolodner does a really great job of keeping the spirit alive in this city. Of course, it could be more inclusive, and figuring what that looks like, I feel like is more my responsibility in the wheel of it. But again, it's also making the music current that'll help more folks get into it. I really like going to. I'm a block away from Lovely Lane Church, where they have some of the contra dances, quadrille dances, square dances, and I really like hanging out with Steve Hickman a lot. And if folks don't know Steve Hickman, he's like a handbone master, but also a really great groovy dance fiddler. It's hard to find really groovy dance fiddlers, and he knows how to play the melody with the groove, play around the melody, pass the melody around. He's a great band leader too, and I I really like the tradition that he's carrying, and he doesn't like to say he's an old time fiddler. He also has the same qualms, like he doesn't know what old time is. He's a dance fiddler. He's a dance musician. That's the way he likes to say it. Um, so I like that. I like the tradition of dance he holds, and also there's a history that in this city that I'm sort of scratching for, but a lot of popular dance history in the 18th century. I'm sorry, the 19th century was more in Philadelphia, and the inklings of it here are that I see in history books are like quoted from like Philadelphia scenes. There's a couple of musicians that I'm looking for in the stacks of the Knock Pratt Library that were in this town that I hope that I can dig up and bring forward, because Baltimore back then, isn't talked about that much aside from Frederick Douglass, um, but there's a lot there. I feel like there's a lot more there. That's a little bit of a tangent, but that's how these questions go.
Yeah, no, that's great. I actually, speaking of the history of the area we live in, the first time outside of the Baltimore Old Time Jam, I think the first time I heard you actually playing music was this video that you released recently of a your repurposed version of Going to Germany. I think it's
Hmm.
a Memphis Jug Band song. And it was beautiful, man. But the lyrics that you sang to it, they had something to do with some activism that you're involved in right now in our area. And I was just wanting to know if you could maybe uh, shed a little light on that and what you were trying to do with that song and what you're trying to do in Montgomery County and how music can play into that maybe a little bit.
So I made a video series dedicated to um, the struggle that's happening with the Moses Cemetery in Bethesda off of River Road. There is an old cemetery that's there. A lot of the tombstones, all of the tombstones, have been removed because of decades of development in the area and exclusion of you know, those critical voices, those folks that are attached to the cemetery. It's just the history isn't known in the area, and there's a lovely group of protesters led by the Macedonia Baptist Church and also Marcia Adebayo Coleman to make sure that they stop desecrating that cemetery. There's a cemetery there. There are bodies in the ground. Montgomery County, unfortunately, hasn't done the job to delineate the boundaries of the cemetery because I think they'd rather just redevelop the area. And the fight is funny. The fight it's hard to talk about sometimes because there's so many like little details happening. Let's see if I can run through a couple. Um, so there's three main plots that we're fighting over. One of the plots is owned by Equity One, this other developer. They haven't done anything with their plot. One of the plots has been gifted to the church to dedicate to this cemetery. No, it hasn't been gifted to the church. It's been gifted to Montgomery County Parks. And then the other plot is being dug into right now by a storage company, and it's really unfortunate because they were supposed to delineate the boundaries of the cemetery, and a lot of the folks that grew up around the cemetery knew of the cemetery when there were still tombstones there, like saying like there were grave sites right there. There are pictures that say as much. There are personal accounts, but unfortunately, in order to get through to the government, there needs to be an archaeological investigation. There was a preliminary archaeological investigation that says like there is a high probability that you are going to find bodies and funerary objects. And from that, there was supposed to be a more extensive investigation that delineated the boundaries of the cemetery. I'm about to talk to the person that they were talking with at the time to do that work. But what I found out from a meeting that the county and the folks were involved with a couple of weeks ago is that they had this talk. This person wanted to expand the scope of the investigation because they thought that the cemetery was much bigger than they were talking about, and because of that, nothing happened because I think they didn't want to expand that. They wanted them to just investigate this area, and no delineation was had. And the county is currently saying like, no, the cemetery is just on this plot over here, and they don't know that. They're saying that because they want to redevelop the area, and they don't want to go through the work of actually figuring out what this ground used to be, which is horrible because they're missing an opportunity to have more depth to the county. I grew up going to schools in Montgomery County. I went to Richard Montgomery and Clarksburg and Julius West for middle school. And seeing the place get built up over the years, the place, it has no personality aside from the people. So I really feel like they missed an opportunity to be grounded. And it might be an ugly legacy, but it takes balls to make that a part of yourself and to reconcile with that. And doesn't seem like they have any balls about it. I'm a little bit crass when it comes to these things.
What made you want to use an old time song in your protest of the cemetery?
I don't.
What was the spark that created this idea for you?
I just don't. It's no fun to just play these songs without a utility to them. And I wanted to take these songs and give them a utility, give them more of a meaning than they already had, and make them relevant today. And it was a series of 4 songs, and I was joined by Yamar Jasper. Yamar Jasper did the video for it. Dante Pope did all the percussion, and for one of the videos, I had Jay Jones, who is a wonderful musical theater personality in and around DC, joined for one of the songs. And I did 2 songs from Slave Songs of the United States, which I believe was published in 1868. I might be off by a year or 2 on that. And then I did a tune by Francis Johnson, a popular dance musician in the 19th century in Philadelphia, called Potter's Hornpipe, which was dedicated to a Potter cemetery that was repurposed for a building in his time in 1816. And then this Memphis Jug Band tune, which I thought about rewriting that tune for a long time, because it had already, with a lot of the old time tunes I have, I play them until they start to sound like me. And once they start to sound like me, I change the lyrics and it's mine.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. Speaking of making things yours, I'd love to get into a little bit of the music that you're making right now. But maybe would you like to play a tune for us before we get into that?
Yeah, let me. I don't. I wish I had some of those tunes ready on the bass right now. Let's see. What can I play for you right now? So, let's play this tune. This tune is a tune I thought I wrote about some fling, but it ended up being a tune that I guess is about God. And I just hope that Montgomery County Council, Montgomery County Planning, R.W. Murray, the construction company that's building the storage facility, are just thinking about God when they're doing this, when they're not listening to the people, when they're trying to squash a voice. So yeah, let's play this too. Big trees blowing the wind, strong trees keep digging in. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around, it's you. How long did she wait for Odysseus to return? So much time to think, wonder and yearn. Big trees blowing the wind, strong trees keep digging in. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around, it's you. A spark and a bang made just about everything. So much time since we were one. Particles and quartz form forts. Our bodies, if they come together, then I guess we do too. Big trees blow in the wind. Strong trees keep digging in. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around, it's you. What can I do but grow, knowing the right hands will know just where this harvest goes. Big trees blow in the wind. Strong trees keep digging in. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around, it's you. I'm a vole of the prairie, not far will I tarry, just everywhere till I find the one that makes this world less weary. I think I saw her once streak across the sky. Now I look up every night so I can try to catch her eye. Big trees blow in the wind. Strong trees keep digging in. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around. My head in the ground, legs flailing around. My heels in the ground, hair blowing around. It's you.
That's great, man. And that's one that you wrote yourself?
Yeah, yeah, that's called Poem from a Prairie Bowl. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so for all intents and purposes, we'll call that my signature tune for now.
Very cool. So speaking of the music that you make, you're I've seen a lot about a band that you're playing with right now called Gangsta Grass.
Hmm.
And I believe that you are about to drop a new album.
Tomorrow we are dropping No Time for Enemies, which should be the message of this time. People keep saying that there's going to be a civil war, that things are going to come apart, but like I don't believe that. I believe that we're going to eventually rise to a higher consciousness of thought in this country, because who's got time to have another civil war? Like who's got time? Who wants to sacrifice all the gains that we've made in this country? There's a lot that we need to reconcile with and fix, but we need to do the work to get there. There's a lot of people doing that work. I'm doing that work. You're doing that work. We are collectively forming the identity of America together right now. Since high school, I've been saying America seems like a country that's going through its teen years, and we're right about at the end of that. We're solidifying into whatever this amorphous identity we're gonna have in our 20s is, because there's gonna be a lot of growth to have going forward too. But there's no time for enemies. There's no time for thinking that your brother is really out to get you. It's just time to figure out the ways that we're disrespecting each other, listen to that, and come to a better understanding. This album's all about that.
Well, I was about to say, for folks at home who may not have heard of Gangsta Grass before, from what I've seen, you sort of mix elements of hip hop and old time and bluegrass and all sorts of different things. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the music that you guys make?
Yeah, I think for a long time, I'm new to the band. I've been with them for maybe just about 2 years. The band has been regularly marketed as like a bluegrass hip hop band, but it's more than that, because all the guys come from different, from different places. Wrench, the leader of the band, the producer, The we call him the mastermind. He comes from more of a country honky tonk background, and like he's like the thing I want to hear when I walk into a tavern. He's that kind of singer. Danjo, the banjo player, is more about bluegrass. He's very very bluegrass, and he also has he trained as a choir director, so he has that side about him when it comes to the harmonies. Dolio, the sleuth, one of the MCs, he's from Pensacola, Florida, and he brings more of a southern rap edge to things. And our son, the voice of reason, is from Philadelphia, and he brings more of a northern state of mind to it. Like you may not know the dichotomy between north and south hip hop, but there's a big divide, and they definitely they come together in a special way when it comes to lyricism. And me, I feel like I'm not very bluegrass at all. I can hang out with the bluegrass band and play some driving bass, of course, and maybe eke out a couple of cool licks on the fiddle, but I consider myself more old time and more so trad jazz. I've played trad jazz with that old trad band that I played with, and a couple of different instances sitting in, and I think my style on the fiddle and everything sits in more there than anything else, honestly. So we all bring really different elements of American folk music together.
And so was this a conscious choice in the founding of the band, or was this just some guys got together and they all played different styles and just decided to all play them together organically? You know?
It's Mastermind Wrench. It's Wrench the Mastermind's idea. He wanted to bring these two things together. He's got a whole story about him growing up growing up with these honky tonk country roots with the music his father was playing, then moving out west and like hip hop hitting the scene, and him starting to do his b-boy thing. So he sort of that's together within Wrench, and he really drove it forward to bring these disparate elements together, and somehow he found the right people. I'm glad they make me a part of it, and I'm glad to be on this new album because it's fucking great. I'm not a salesman here. This is my opinion. I listen to the album sometimes. I do not like anything that I do immediately. After I do something, I'm like, that's trash. I'm going to have to listen to that in a couple months and reassess if it's trash. And usually, I'll be like, that was all right, or I'll continue to say it's trash. But this album, I actually listened to here and there in its entirety, and I messaged the band, and I'm like, we made a really great album, guys.
So you guys, in addition to making this album, you also, before the pandemic, had a pretty robust tour schedule.
Yeah, we were. The big gigs we missed out on were Winnipeg Folk Festival, Montreal Jazz Fest, which was a really big one for me because I grew up watching some of my favorite jazz musicians play that. I still remember watching B.B. King's video of him doing Montreal Jazz Fest, and Esperanza Spalding doing it. Rejazz, which is this jazz group out of Europe that I really liked. I was really excited for that. We also had a tour with American Music Abroad. We were supposed to be going to Morocco to fuse those elements in our music, and up to Baffin Bay to hang out with the Inuits up there and play music. And that all got canceled. Well,
Yeah,
postponed. Let's say postponed.
yeah.
Next year.
This was my next question: is how has the pandemic and all the cancellations affected your art, your music, what you've been doing? How has it affected you?
Let's say postponements. Postponements. When it comes to Gangsta Grass, it's postponements. Me in general, I think it's great. I really do. Honestly, I didn't personally with my own music. I didn't like the gigs I was doing. I didn't like why I was doing them. I was I I was doing these So Far Sounds gigs, and I'm not gonna mince words. I fucking hate So Far Sounds. They destroyed a really beautiful organic house music scene that was all over the country. DC had a beautiful house music scene. There were punk houses, there were folk houses, there were houses where you could catch a classical music concert. And So Far Sounds was sort of the monopoly that came over and took that over and whitewashed the whole thing. And not even the crowds were that exciting. Like there are these, you know, bland, bright-eyed DC people new to DC that were just trying to be cool or do something new. A lot of single women just trying to find somebody else to spend time with, but searching in the wrong place. It wasn't. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. I like the fact that the industry has come apart a bit because I hope we build it in a better way. It's allowed me to do this cemetery project. I think I wouldn't have had the capacity if this pandemic happened to really care the way that I've cared about the cemetery and other things I'm a part of. I've also I started doing a podcast, Prison Prophets, for a nonprofit, Songs in the Key of Free. Songs in the Key of Free, they do these creative music sessions in the prisons for the inmates, which is really important because the inmates don't if they're musicians in prison, they don't get the opportunity to play and create their own music a lot. They usually have to play for these weird events that they have in the prison, and they're doing all covers, and it really encourages them to create and to share their experience. And I've been making the podcast for that. It's out now. A couple of episodes are out. If you look anywhere, Prison Prophets, you'll find the podcast. But there's a bunch of interviews and there's songs that are spliced together in an oral podcast experience. I think it's pretty great. I put a lot of hard work into it, which I wouldn't be able to do if we were still dealing with the same music scene that we started with at the beginning of the year.
So the pandemic has actually opened up some opportunities for you to better express your creative side.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's affected a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. So it's good that you managed to find a silver lining.
I'm looking for is silver linings.
So if you don't mind, before we get too tight on time here, could you maybe talk a little bit about the other bass you have hanging up back behind you?
How much time do we have left? Because I've got a song about silver linings that I want to.
Oh, then why don't you go ahead and play the song for us first, then?
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
That's perfect.
Let's remember what key I did it in. So this is a song that a friend of mine made, Letitia Van Sant, who's a amazing musician, and when she played this song, like, it almost grabbed a tear out of me. And when I started playing it, I played it a lot for a couple of fellow musicians when this pandemic hit, and you know it. Well, let's see what y'all grab out of it. Put a full-color flyer on every pole in town. Put an ad in the paper and your mama clipped it out. On opening day, 99 balloons reached up to the sky. Now they're dead on the ground, getting kicked around. by all the people passing by. But you hold your head up high. It's fake it till you make it, so go ahead and crack a smile. There's no shortcuts on this road you chose, so go ahead and walk another mile. Put a pep in your step when your pops put that money down. Went ahead and got a beer in your new stomping grounds. But you lost that job and the gigging's real slow, so you do what you wouldn't dare. And it break his heart to see all those empty chairs. But you hold your head up high. It's fake it till you make it, so go ahead and crack a smile. There's no shortcuts on this road you chose, so go ahead and walk another mile. They say if you build it, they will come. But nobody says from who or where from. 'Cause the hustle is a lonely place. Oh, the hustle can be a lonely place. Oh, the hustle is a lonely place. The hustle is a lonely place. But you hold your head up high. Always fake it till you make it, so go ahead and crack a smile. There's no shortcuts on this road you chose. There's no shortcuts on this road you chose. Oh, there's no shortcuts on this road you chose, so go ahead and walk another mile. That's a tune called The Hustle by Letitia Van Sant.
That was excellent. So nice.
Yeah, I love that one.
So do you wanna show us the special bass?
Yeah, I'll show you the special bass. Hold on. Show you the special bass.
Sorry, everyone. So as I've mentioned before, Brian and I live in the same city, and so I have this bit of background information. He has a special bass that I think everyone needs to see.
You know what? I got the cable available too, so I'll cable this up a bit.
So Brian, I also some people have said that your voice is a little bit quiet. Could you maybe move a little bit closer to the microphone? Sorry, everyone. This is our first interview. I'm hearing it through my computer speakers, and it sounds good, but maybe through the phone it's a little quieter. We'll make sure to address that in the next interview that we do. Thanks for posting it in the comments.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. So I guess I'm gonna have to scroll this past the camera. So when I went to the Breedlove shop, they were just walking me around, and as soon as I walk in, there's this dark room behind the counter, and I see this bass, and I'm like, what's that? They're talking to me about like, oh yeah, we'll get you this bass. Here's the bass room with all the instruments. And then I'm like, but what about that bass over there? What is that? And they walk me over and like, oh, we bring this to some of our shows, but they're not, this bass was unfinished. Like, it's still pretty unfinished. It's just got like an olive oil coat on it. And they were like, you really want that? You want that thing? It's a little bit hard to play and maybe a bit cumbersome, but I fucking love this thing. and it's got these really nice bevels on the side here. I wish I had all the details for you, but some of the details have skipped my mind. All I can say is breed love, thank you. I use it currently. I've got a friend of mine that shows me a couple of gimbri tunes, which gimbri is a Moroccan instrument or a North African instrument, and they have a special way of playing. So I've got it tuned to that currently, which is basically 3 octaves and a fourth. And it's a little bit deep, so I'm gonna put a capo on it for y'all. It's not sounding right with the capo. I haven't practiced my gimbri stuff in a minute, so excuse me if I don't have a full tune. I don't have much of a language in this tuning right now. I've just got the basic hits that I practice. It's a frailing. They frail like a banjo player might do with a bass instrument. So sure. Once I practice up this tuning a little bit more, I'll have more to show you in the future. But till then.
It's very cool anyway. So, I'll give you a second here. So everyone, by the way, if you're enjoying this interview, we're coming to a close pretty soon. So make sure to donate in the virtual tip jar in the video description at the top. We're a nonprofit, and so these donations are tax deductible, and they go to supporting the musicians that we're interviewing here. So, so Brian, you have all these plans with Gangsta Grass to travel all over. You started out playing jazz. You got into old time. You're playing with a band that does hip hop and bluegrass. You do different kinds of house music and all this. Where do you see musically? What direction are you trying to go with all these different styles? Do you have some sort of a goal in mind? What's your
No,
musical goal?
I don't know, man. I'm just doing this. That's really the best answer. Like, I didn't know I was gonna be in a bluegrass, quote unquote bluegrass hip hop band. I didn't know I was gonna meet Don Flemons. I didn't know I was gonna play bluegrass. I thought talked to me 10 years ago. I thought I was gonna link up with a jazz group and be playing a lot of jazz. I was gearing myself towards that until I happened upon a bluegrass group and found a whole new side of music. And let me not downplay how much like blues and rock I've played in my life too. So I've got a lot of that in there too. I've led my fair share of bar gigs on the bass, singing, CC Rider and a couple of Hendrix tunes here and there. So I've got a lot of different things in me, and I don't know how it's gonna come out or what the career is really gonna look like. I just know that I'm gonna keep on moving forward with it.
Well, that's great. It's nearing 8 o'clock now. So would you like to play us one more song to sort of take us out?
Yeah. I'm going to play this song because I like to remind everybody I came out with an EP this year on my birthday. It's called Unsent Letters. It's on Spotify. And I should have changed my name on here because it's B.E.Farrow. That's my artist name, B Farrow. If you look that up on Spotify, you'll find it. B.E.Farrow. B Farrow. Also, you can go to bfarrow.com and check out the website and check out stuff I'm doing there, or you'll see plastered all over the front page the EP. But this is the last side from that EP. It's only 5 tracks. It's a 15-minute listen, and I listen back to it sometimes, and I don't hate it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy this tune too. I like to use this tune here as a lullaby.
Brian, just real quick before you get started, you said that Gangsta Grass is dropping the new album tomorrow. Can you let us know where we can pick that up?
Yeah, we've got pre-order links all over the place, and I'll be posting a link pretty soon on my page, probably right after this interview, of a link that you can hit to pre-order the album. And when you pre-order the album, it enters you to a contest to join us for an online listening party and hang session where we're just going to be drinking and listening to the album and shooting the shit. And it's great to hang us out with us. The band is a bunch of personalities. I love these guys. So you guys will see that very, very soon. There's a special listening session that was happening of the full album today. I forgot what time that was, but it's almost tomorrow. So tomorrow you're gonna have the album. It's gonna come out everywhere. Yeah, I think that's what I got to say about that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play this tune now. This is a new pedal. I got this new octave pedal. I'm having so much fun with it. It's not the perfect setting right now, but yeah, I'm having fun with this, so let's do it. Say so much, the rest you can say by touch. Don't struggle over words, don't fret over verbs. Me and you, I know what I've heard. Only speak your native tongue. I hear your intention sung, the sweet melody be found over me. Brush my skin, the meaning within. Tangled fingers and no delay. What more is there to say? Firmness of hands, hips that demand. Not one word can speak those commands. So thanks for joining us today, y'all. Please check out the album that's coming out tomorrow. Check out the EP that I released. Man, I talked about a lot of things for this whole interview. Check out the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition to find out more about that cemetery and what's going on. Check out Prison Prophets on any podcast player. We've all been working our asses off to really figure out, I know I have, what it is in music that makes us feel purposeful. And right now, I think all those things that I just listed, for me, well, they make me proud. So please do check it out, y'all.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, check out all the things that Brian just told you about. Brian, thanks for sitting down and sharing your thoughts and your journey and your music with us. Everyone, don't forget to donate to support musicians like this. And tune in next week on Thursday at 6 for an interview with old-time musician Rachel Eddy.
Hey, Rachel.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm very excited. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you, Brian, and I'll see you later.